This case was investigated by the Pennsylvania State Police, and they did an excellent job. We appreciate all their hard work. This case is something that we here in Berks County have not dealt with previously whatsoever. The facts of this case are on November 8th, the Pennsylvania State Police responded to 61 Talbot Road in Upper Tulpehocken Township for the report of a deceased 2-year-old victim. The state police had actually been notified of this death by a funeral home who was contacted in regard to this case. Found by the Pennsylvania State Police when they entered the home was the victim, Ella Grace Foster, 2-year-old with a date of birth of 10/3/14. No physical injuries were observed on the child. Present in the home were the father and mother, Jonathan and Grace Foster. They were initially interviewed at the scene. They were later interviewed in January of this year. They have always been completely cooperative with law enforcement. Jonathan Foster indicated that the daughter had been showing signs of a common cold 2 to 4 days, 24 to 48 hours prior to death. Father reported that the victim had a rough night sleeping the past evening, and it was noted that the daughter was up most of the night, or the mother was up most of the night with the victim due to the victim not sleeping well because of illness. Mr. Foster related that while he was at work on November 8th, he received a phone call from his wife that the victim's breathing was becoming labored. Jonathan Foster left work, responded to the home, and held the victim in his arms. The victim's breathing became very rapid and related approximately after 1 hour of rapid breathing. The victim stopped breathing and died in the father's arms. Mr. Foster indicated at the scene that he did not attempt to contact emergency services. Parents did not attempt any life-saving techniques, including CPR. Both parents indicated that they did not believe in medications or doctors, and the death of the victim was God's will. Jonathan Foster informed the state police that they were members of a non-denominational church, Faith Tabernacle. And as part of their faith, they do not believe in any sort of medical treatments whatsoever. Any illness or injuries that occur within their lives are considered acts of God, and they leave all of their faith in God to keep them safe, healthy, and debt-free. Jonathan Foster indicated it would be frowned upon and against his religion if he was to contact emergency services to revise the victim. As part of this investigation, an autopsy was performed on November 10th by Dr. Neil Hoffman of the Reading Hospital. Dr. Hoffman found that the cause of death was pneumonia, and that it was a common form of pneumonia, very treatable, and that if the victim would have received medical treatment, that there was a 95% chance or better that the victim would have survived. And the treatment for this pneumonia would have been antibiotics. He also added that the day the victim died, the child would have had a very high fever and labored breathing. Mother and father were subsequently interviewed again. Again, they reiterated that their faith, their religious faiths are Faith Tabernacle, that her beliefs are against any kind of medical treatment. Grace Foster related she does not believe in medical treatment. She is not afraid of sickness, and sickness comes and goes. Mother has never been to doctor or taken medication. The mother indicated she was brought up this way. She also indicated that she would not interfere with sickness or injury, and that if her family becomes injured or ill, no course of action would take place except for the outcome of the sickness or injury is in God's hands. The evening prior, or the evening prior to the death of the child, the mother had contacted their pastor, who happens to be the grandfather, and they had the daughter anointed. And in their religion, anointed means that the pastor came over and prayed for the victim. It's also been described as a prayer of faith while placing oils on their forehead. They believe that whenever you feel the need for anointment, whether suffering from physical trial or anything else, you call the pastor and request an anointment. Also, the minister, the victim's paternal grandfather, who is the pastor for Faith Tabernacle, Harrisburg District, which consists of Lebanon, Mechanicsburg, Schuylkill Haven, and Shippensburg, was interviewed. He indicated that, yes, they are all members of the Faith Tabernacle congregation, and as members, they are consciously opposed to medical treatment. It is against their beliefs to allow any medical procedures to be performed on their bodies. Based on these principles, the members of this religion take exception to medical insurance or availing themselves to the medical profession. Jonathan and Grace Foster, the parents, had 7 children. They now have 6. These children range in age from an infant to a 10-year-old. Needless to say, we have an ongoing interest in the health and welfare of this family. This is not a case about the ability or inability to afford medical care. During this investigation, questions were asked of the parents if they would consider obtaining medical care for their children, and they indicated that it would be against their religious beliefs. If the child suffered a compound fracture, they would not seek medical care. This office, state police, and has a duty to protect children. Children cannot protect themselves. If in fact an adult makes a conscious decision that they will refuse medical treatment, we would not interfere with that decision. However, our laws recognize that you have a duty to care for your child's health and welfare, and we cannot justify a parent from not seeking health care for their children when their children are ill. And in this case, our expert opined that this was a very treatable form of pneumonia. Parents intentionally not seeking medical care, which resulted in the death of their child, we are charging the parents, Jonathan and Grace Foster, with involuntary manslaughter, felony of the 2nd degree, and endangering the welfare of a child, and misdemeanor of the 1st degree. Endangering the welfare of a child in Pennsylvania is defined as a parent, guardian, or other person supervising the welfare of a child under 18 years commits an offense if he knowingly endangers the welfare of the child by violating the duty of care, protection, or support. Parents did not seek medical care for a child, so we will take it upon ourselves to protect the welfare of children, and we hope that no other child in this family will suffer again as a result of their parents' religious beliefs. Pennsylvania law, Pennsylvania case law, does not recognize religion as an exception to the duty of care, protection, or support, particularly when a child isn't able to care for themselves. The fosters knowingly failed in their duty of care, and it is now our duty to protect the victim and the foster's other children. Thank you. Any questions?